Hello? Oh, where are you? Where are you? Yelsy buddy! I just want to talk. You, me, and my friend here. Gonna be best pals! You must be thirsty with all that flying. Got a nice cold beer in the fridge for you. No? Of course. It would be irresponsible of me to let you drink and fly on an empty stomach. I've got an out-of-date ham sandwich in the fridge. I'll let you have it. Sound good? Right. I ain't messing around now. Here's my final offer. Ice cold beer, disgusting sandwich, and all 76 hours of James Cameron's Avatar. How does that sound? Aha! Oh, come on! Hello and welcome to the House of the Beast. As you guys can tell, looking behind me, I'm a massive fan of heavy metal band Iron Maiden. That's what this channel is all about, and if you guys enjoy this video, do stick around because we're going to be talking about them a hell of a lot more and in a lot more detail. Where do you even start to talk about a band like Maiden? Well, they formed in the mid to late 1970s and they worked insanely hard, touring the length and breadth of the UK, playing all sorts of pubs and clubs up and down across Britain. In 1980 they signed to EMI Records and they released their self-titled debut LP Iron Maiden, and over the coming decades they toured the world playing to an audience of millions and dominating the heavy metal scene as giants of their genre. So presumably you're tuned in because you know about Maiden, or maybe you're just getting to know Maiden and you're kind of interested in what they have to offer. Well, maybe you don't know Maiden quite as well as you thought. Right, that's it. Man who catch fly with chopstick. Accomplish anything. As I said, the band worked incredibly hard prior to being signed by EMI Records, and despite many lineup changes, and even at one point having all of their equipment stolen from the back of their van, with a little luck and their can-do attitude, they still managed to overcome all the obstacles that faced them. Of course, we do have a number of unofficial sources available to us, like the Origins of Iron Maiden, or the Ultimate Unauthorized History of the Beast, and also 2 official books, Running Free, first published by Gary Bushell in 1984, and Run to the Hills by Mick Wall, published in 1998. Each book has its own merits and do help to establish some of the more well-known facts. Alternatively, you can go online and read the many articles and websites on the history of Maiden. In addition to that, you may also already have a copy of the Early Days DVD, which contains a documentary where many of the ex-band members recall the story of how the band came together in the wonderful Cart and Horses pub. This DVD contains a copy of the VHS documentary 12 Wasted Years that has some great footage of the band during the first decade of their career, as well as some previously unreleased footage of that time. 12 Wasted Years has long since been out of print and does tend to retread some of the same information that I've already mentioned before on the previous 2 biographies. Excuse me. Where are you? Come on! I've had enough! Oh, you're gonna get it so bad.
Yeah, you come out.
They say the devil is in the details, And after reading all the books and watching the DVDs, there are still many questions I have about that early period of the band prior to 1980. At what point did Rod Smallwood get involved? Just why did certain band members leave or get replaced? How did the band tour the whole of the UK on virtually no money? Lastly, just who were the people responsible behind the scenes for putting on all those shows during those early days? What I need is a documented account of somebody who was there to experience the early highs and lows of the band firsthand. Also, somebody who's not contractually obliged to tell the story that Maiden would want you to hear.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Am I ever going to get the answers I so desperately seek? Surely somebody out there knows this information. If there's a God in heaven, please help out this desperate, slightly overweight, needy fan. Oh, Lord of the Flies! Ugh, I give up. I can't do this. I can't work under these conditions. What's this? Roadie wanted for pub band. Must be total ed case for life on the road. Must be able to make food and drinks for the band on demand. Must be able to wear a mask if the situation calls for it. And must be able to wrestle the odd beast on occasion and divert groupies where necessary. Well, I know how to make sandwiches and drinks. Plus it can't be that hard. And it'll get me out of the house for a bit. P.S. Complimentary guide to being a roadie, free for new recruits. Don't call us for more info as we know where you live. That's creepy. My, special packet for me. What do we got here? Ah, well, looks like my prayers have been answered. It's the essential book by Steve Newhouse, The Iron Maiden Years. Steve, who came to be known as Loopy, was a drum tech to Doug Sampson and Clive Burr during the band's formative years. He worked with the band from mid-1977 up until early 1984 and was involved in the band's first 2 world tours. What can I say about this book? First impressions are good. It's nice and heavy, which is reassuring that it's of a decent quality. And the cover is nice and eye-catching. So there's nothing left to do now but cram. God damn it! Loopy's book is a brilliant read, detailing life on the road with the band as they repeatedly toured the UK prior to signing with EMI, as well as details on the first few tours. He witnessed the band's early performances with Paul Mario Day, and he was right there with his good friend Paul Diano to help the band when they were crammed into tiny rehearsal rooms for months at a time. As one of the original roadies for the band for many years, his account of events that took place, while unique to his own experiences at the time, can be taken as truthful and in some cases brutally honest when it comes to the working relationships and how they can easily become strained in a band like Maiden. But then it wouldn't be called work if it was easy, and any lows were very much outweighed by the many highs. Wow, what a fantastic read this book is. Oh, what's this? Pick up kit from lockup. Well, no time like the present, I guess. I promise, like Loopy, I will do my best to be roadie extraordinaire. I'm going now, Fly. I'm going to stop off on the pet shop on the way home and buy a spider. must be around here somewhere. For those of you who follow the page Derek Riggs Stuff on Facebook, you might already know the cover art is in fact by Derek Riggs himself, and official prints of the art along with many other works can be purchased from Derek's wife Kim Darville via the email address in the description below. Alternatively, you can head on over to Derek's shop on his official website to check out the full range available. If there is anything you'd like that you can't see in the web shop, just ask Kim and she'll point you in the right direction. Fun fact about the book cover: when Derek was commissioned to draw this cover, he tried to imagine what the first Eddie from the 1980 album cover would look like all these decades later, so he has a slightly aged look about him. Old man Eddie, if you will. Also, I just happened to notice the title of the book and Steve's name on the cover are both in the font known as Comic Sans. Comic. Not on my watch. For those of you quick enough to buy a copy of the book early on, then you might also have been able to get your hands on this very stylish and attractive Loopy World lanyard, which guarantees the wearer backstage access to any event or show. For legal reasons, please note that this lanyard does not guarantee you entry into any backstage area, but will make you the envy of your friends and enhance your attractiveness by roughly 2%. This lanyard was sold separately to the book, but after the first batch sold out, another lot was reordered due to popular demand. So for those of you out there who are quick enough to get hold of one, then you are the lucky owner of a very short run of these. If Loopy decides to do any more in the future, then do make sure you grab one because they look wicked. The book I received direct from Loopy also had a few small extras thrown in, which was a nice additional touch, so do place your order as quickly as possible to benefit from this deal in full. For those of you who are keen readers and would like to have more books in your life, then I just want to quickly mention that Loopy also has 2 additional works of fiction that are currently available. That's right, it's time for the plug. Firstly, there's Justin, the story of an 8-foot robot with a number of different powers, which includes, but is not limited to, being extremely rude to people. Lastly, and I better be careful how I say this, there's Thunderthuck, which is the name of an English band featured in this book, who are being taken on their first tour of America and Canada by their manager, also called Loopy.
You know, a smart man would park closer.
What about the inside of the book? Well, if you want to know what band Paul Di'Anno was in before he'd even joined Iron Maiden, then this is the book for you. If you want to know how tireless and motivated Steve Harris was in getting together the right kind of people who'd be as dedicated to his vision as he was, then it's in here. If you want to know exactly how many Brussels sprouts Dick Bell could keep in his underpants, well, that's not in here, but the rest of it makes for very interesting reading. Well, here we are to audition at the studio. Let's knock on the door and see if we can get some of the gear set up. Hello? Hello?
You're late! I'm dying for a cup of tea!
This book is full of the many weird and wonderful moments that take you back in time to recount the many highs and lows that unfolded around Maiden during those early years. There's also a much more detailed account of the events where Steve Harris took a copy of the Soundhouse tapes to the bandwagon in Kingsbury Circle and met with DJ Neil Kay for the first time. As any good roadie will tell you, the struggle to get the band's gear on and off the stage in plenty of time before and after every show was often met with many unforeseen challenges. Loopy's book does a great job in detailing some of the issues he faced when Maiden was a predominantly British band. Toward the end of the book, there are some pages dedicated to the hard times faced by the band More, of which original Iron Maiden vocalist Paul Mario Day was the lead singer for. There's also a brief mention of the times Loopy spent working with the band Lionheart, of which Dennis Stratton was the guitar player. Okay, so symbols are all done now, so all good?
Yeah, well, I don't know. They seem okay, but there's something not quite right about it. I can't quite put my finger on it. There you go, genius. Now make me some tea.
So the Green Goddess gets a nice mention in this book, as does the legendary Vic Vela. Ow. The book does a great job in pulling you back through time to revisit the hard work and efforts made behind the scenes during the writing and recording of the first 4 albums. Ow. Excluding, of course, the Number of the Beast album, which Loopy wasn't present for. Ow. But of course, there is a section toward the end of the book which is all about the Power Slave album that was written at Compass Point in the Bahamas. Ow! Dude, seriously? One of the more surprising things when reading this book is the difficult working relationship that's described between Clive Burr and Loopy. Now, I don't want to spoil it, but it seems like there's never really a conclusive resolution as to why some of the moments in question even needed to have occurred in the first place. Equally, it adds a whole different dimension to Clive Burr, and it's something we've not heard before until this book. There were also growing tensions between Loopy and a young Rod Smallwood, who was just as enthusiastic about the band back then as he is today. However, it seems that perhaps some of that enthusiasm was a little bit misplaced at times where some understanding wouldn't have gone amiss. Originally, when the book came out, it retailed for around the £30 mark. However, since then, it has been reduced substantially to a mind-blowing So grab your copy while you can, because once these books are sold, there will not be any more reprints available, and word is spreading fast. However, if you do have a preference, understand that there are a short limited run of hardback versions available, so do keep an eye out for those details. One of the really nice things about this book is that it does tend to have some really touching moments between Loopy and Dave Murray and Loopy and Steve Harris. Also, one of my other favourite things about this book is that, like most other books, it comes in this handy portable size, which is great because it means not only can you read it at home, you can read it while eating a banana, you can read it while mowing the lawn, you can read it in the garden while trampolining on one leg, you can read it while you're being mugged. You can read it on your way to work. You can read it anywhere. Loopy World is essential reading for any Iron Maiden fan, and it should be on your shelves at home next to your copy of Running Free. It's a great account of the foundation that was laid by the band during those early years and the struggles they overcame with the crew to get to where they are today. So everything's set up. Do I get the job?
No!
This book is just as valid and as important as the band's official biographies, but it tends to add so much more weight and insight into the struggles that face all new bands, and it shows how Maiden persevered through the different challenges they faced at that time. Luckily, they had great support given to them behind the scenes by this original Killer Krew. Maiden's music, of course, spoke for itself long before record labels became involved, or before Eddie was even a part of their story. This book shows how the band were destined to rise to such acclaim once the groundwork had been laid. I highly recommend this book as essential reading for any Iron Maiden fan, and without it, your knowledge of Maiden falls utterly short, so I cannot promote this book enough. In a perfect world, every living member of Maiden, past and present, would write their own biography based on their experiences in the band. I'd especially love to read Steve Harris's biography, and it was recently announced that Adrian Smith is also going to release his own book in September called Monsters of River and Rock. If you are considering picking this book up at any point, then please note the only place you can buy this book is direct from Loopy himself. If you see the book advertised anywhere else, then don't send any money because it is a scam. In summary, Loopy World does a great job at detailing the history of the band during those early days, with particular focus from mid-1977 all the way up until the end of the Killers tour in 1981. There's also a great account of how the band all pulled together, both past and present members, to promote the image of the band throughout London and, over the coming years, throughout the rest of Britain. The book hits quite close to home for me, as I grew up in West London during the 80s, and it really reminds me of what London was like at that time, and in particular how every pub seemed to be a live music venue, but also how every high street had a record shop. Where would I rate it if I had to give it a rating? I'd give this book a solid 5 out of 5, and if I had to put it in some kind of chronological order of preference, I would place it second. If you want to know what my number one is, you'll have to stick around to find out. But Loopy World is available, and details on how you can buy this book are in the description below. Buy it now. Well, that's the end of my review of Loopy World. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I had fun making it. I've barely even begun to scratch the surface about the history of the band. I bet you guys didn't know that the like button on YouTube is actually modelled on Steve Harris's own hand when he's having pictures taken with fans. Okay, that's not true, obviously, but if you could click the like button, that would really help me out. And while you're there, flick the subscribe button as well, because then you can be kept up to date with all the latest information from this channel. Also, I just want to take the time to thank so many people for helping me make this video. I've mentioned you guys below, and if I missed anyone out, I am sorry. Meanwhile, take care of yourselves, look after each other, and up the irons. Aragog, you're doing a fine job. Oh no. You gotta be f***ing me. Aragog, you're fired. No more flies! No more